Welcome to the Mind of Business Success podcast. I'm your host, Alicia Cramer. Our guest today is Ryan Kopyar. We are going to talk about some of my very, very, very favorite topics: mindset, hypnotherapy, creating transformation, change, all that good stuff that we all kind of secretly want to do. Welcome to the show, Ryan.
Hey, Alicia, it's so nice to be with you. And just reading your bio and a little bit about your story. I love your energy and what you're about. So I'm super excited to connect with you.
Kindred spirits, because you are a hypnotherapist as well, and you are a mindset expert, and you're helping people in a lot of similar ways, really doing that deep inner work. And um, you mentioned when we were chatting a little bit before we started the recording that a big part of your work is about shifting our identity. I always refer to it as sort of that self-image. Like, what is our self-image? Who do we believe ourselves to be? What are those things that are kind of tripping us up because we still associate with who we believed ourselves to be in the past as we are reaching for like this new version of ourselves. And a lot of times there's all these incongruencies that are directly blocking our success and our fulfillment and our happiness. So I'd love to start there, and I'd love to talk a little bit about how you are working with clients in your practice to do some of that deeper inner work, and how important it is to really do that piece around changing our identity so we can create a life that we really do love.
Yeah, love it. I think that's a great place to start. We all came into this world naked, and we all came in with no self-image. That self-image, right, was put into us based on life experiences. And between the age of birth and 7, our brain is mostly in theta state. What that means is we're just absorbing everything like a sponge. And during those formative years, we typically are taking on that self-image, right? What am I allowed to express my needs? Or maybe I'm not allowed to express my needs. What can my caregiver give me? What can't they give me, right? And the crazy part about that is it's such intricate programming, and yet we may go our whole lives never realizing how much that has impacted our self-image. So just taking a moment to pause there, and maybe we can parse some of that out a little bit.
So for those of us that have been in this industry or in doing this type of work, we know how impactful those early years are. But for a lot of people, they don't really understand the depth of it. And I've worked now probably with, geez, I don't even know, definitely hundreds of one-on-one clients, over the past decade that I've been doing this work. And obviously far more in like group programs and things like that. And it is so common for people to think that they just have to sort of shift a couple of these things that they're experiencing in their life. They have to change a behavior, or they have to feel more confident, or, some kind of like, no, I don't want to say it's superficial because it's not superficial, but it's so overly simplified, right? If I just change this one thing, it's going to solve all my problems. I'm going to live happily ever after, without realizing that there is literally years worth of reinforcing a lot of that self-image and a lot of that programming. And that even with something as effective as, say, hypnosis, or a lot of the other different types of modalities that we can use to make changes at the subconscious level of the mind, in many cases, these are very intricate challenges.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Um, in the Hindu language, they refer to this as vasanas or sanskaras. And what I like to kind of describe them as deep, like imagine the side of a mountain or a ski slope, right? And those skis just keep going over the same spot over and over and over again. That gets wired so deep into our subconscious mind as who we are. what we deserve. And so if we want to make a change in our behavior or whatever the case may be, right? It's not, I don't help people at the what level. I help people at the why level. So why am I doing this? And I think that when we can get into figuring out the why, that can help us to connect to, hey, what are some of these deep subconscious programs that I've been running that I haven't been aware of? Because about 90% of our life, give or take, is run by our subconscious mind. That means we're not even thinking about what we're doing. And at a manifesting level, we're not even really consciously thinking about what we're calling into our lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When people start to become more aware, it is both empowering and a little bit frightening,
Yes.
because so much of the time we are just operating, kind of defaulting to the same old thoughts, the same old feelings, the same old reactions and responses to things. And it feels so normal to us that we don't oftentimes realize just how detrimental a lot of that thinking actually is, and those, how toxic a lot of those feelings are. And I know that for a lot of us that have sort of gone down the rabbit hole, we start to learn a little bit more about how the universe works, and we understand the law of vibration and the law of attraction. And then we're like, oh shit, because how much time are you actually spending feeling angry or feeling like a victim or defaulting to old disempowering patterns, whether it's with food or it is in your business, it is with your relationships. There's so many areas where people have just gotten accustomed to this negative way of thinking and these negative expectations. And so then they try to make a positive change in their life, like losing the weight or growing their business or whatever. And there's all of this internal resistance that they just keep bumping up against, because all of their old programming is the stuff that they watch their parents do, or what they're seeing, they've been conditioned by the media or the news or whatever. And so much of that is really just not high vibrational or empowering.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. What I hear you speaking about is chaos, facing that change, facing that programming. And we realize, whoa, that's what I've been running. And now I want to change it. Well, guess what? That program is deep in there. So if we want to rewire it, there's going to be some chaos. Chaos is a natural part of change. And so whether that's a business person, or an individual looking to make their own change for themselves internally, or even an organization at a larger level, right? If we want change, there's going to be some chaos as part of the process. The question is, how do we look at that change? Are we looking at it as the caterpillar turning into the butterfly? Are we seeing that although there may be chaos at the surface, there actually is some order underneath? But that takes an incredible level of self-awareness to step outside of ourselves.
It does. And it's not intuitive, which is unfortunate, because when we learn these things, then it's like, oh, that makes so much sense. But one is it's not being taught, right? And the other piece is there is sort of this inner evolution that we need to go through in order for us to stop just defaulting to old triggers. No, I didn't get my way. I don't have what I want. This isn't changing fast enough. I don't have the results.
Right.
The inner angst and for us to be okay with the process. That is a level of inner maturity that oftentimes I think comes through going through this journey more intentionally, in many cases several times, before your own mind starts to say, it's okay that I feel this way. It's okay that I'm experiencing upheaval. It's okay that I'm noticing resistance to change. This is all a natural part of the process.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so very well said. It's like an airplane, right? So nowadays with the airplanes, the pilot could set it on autopilot and then just go on the back of the plane and have a couple margaritas and kick his feet up, and the plane is still going to get to where it needs to go to. right? But if there is just a slight alteration into the GPS of that plane, even if it's just 1%, right? That's going to add up over time to take the plane far off track. Now, kind of the antithesis to that, right, is if we want to make a change in our life, it can start with just that little 1%, just that little 1 degree, just those little bitty changes, right? That start to exponentially stack up on top of themselves. And then all of a sudden you say, wow, how did I get here? Right? Anybody that's gone through a major transformation has asked themselves, oh my gosh, how did I get here? I never could have imagined. Well, it's because you embraced the process and you looked at, okay, how can I make just these little changes here and there versus, oh my gosh, I've got to just change everything, right? Because that can be overwhelming.
I love how you set that up. We hear all over in like the personal development arena, incremental changes, incremental, just a 1% change. And so many people, I think they get it. Conceptually, it makes sense. But if we don't actually see it, experience it, if we don't have that experiential knowing and see just how much of a difference it really truly does make, we kind of just blow it off. Mm-hmm. And so many people are looking at their goal. I like to use the analogy. It's like your goal is at the top of the staircase and you're at the bottom of the staircase. And you're like, how do I got to get up there. And your mind immediately goes into overwhelm. There's all of the justifiable reasons why that is completely illogical, right? It's not going to happen. It's never happened before. Nothing's ever, worked, can't get there. And so rather than recognizing all I need to do is take the next logical step, and then the next logical step after that, that's how you get to the top of the staircase. Most people are standing at the bottom of the staircase, frozen, not doing anything, not making any incremental positive changes because they're in that state of overwhelm, thinking that somehow there has to be some kind of miracle that's going to occur in order for them to change their life. But if you read stories about individuals who have gone from nothing to achieve incredible things, tremendous success, building empires, huge companies, athletes, people who had what appeared to be a disadvantage or didn't come from advantage. You see, it was this ongoing incremental process, that sort of reworking, right? All of their mental and emotional stuff to get there.
Yeah, love it. Very well said. Here's another cheat sheet for the listeners and the viewers, and that is this. We will go there in our mind before we'll ever go there in our external reality. And this is such a powerful aspect of hypnosis, right? Because time is an illusion. And so if we allow ourselves to go there in our mind, to go to the top of the staircase in our mind and really get emotionally involved with what that feels like, it kind of gives us that little taste. And then it's like, okay, so I got a little taste and I'm taking one step at a time. And that helps to really shrink the distance between the goals, because like you said, when it seems so far away, oh my gosh, it's way up there, that can be discouraging. But when we can go there, when we can taste it, when we can experience it, even in just little ways, it helps, right? That dopamine center in the brain to say, okay, this is worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people don't realize too, is that when you begin to see it and feel it in your mind begins to believe it's possible. And that's really the key, because when we talk to someone who is, maybe they've been struggling with their weight, could be your best friend, right? They have tried and failed at every diet, and they've done all the things, the pills and the machines and the diet, all the stuff, right? And they don't believe, they don't see them. They've maybe imagined briefly, they fantasized very, very briefly. And there was probably a huge emotional disconnect when they were doing it, because their mind is screaming, that's not me. That's not me. And that's a beautiful thing about hypnosis is when we can get someone into that state and we can bypass that critical faculty of the mind, they can actually get into that emotional place where we can start to bridge that gap now and start to create belief at that deeper level of the mind. Like, you got to be able to shut up the conscious mind long enough to actually get in there and start doing some good work, because otherwise it's going to keep stopping us dead in our tracks.
Yeah, yeah. So good. So good. You're absolutely right. Just pushing that conscious mind out of the way, right? We're pushing that uh old programming out of the way. One thing I want to touch on real quick as it relates to, I worked in the health and wellness industry for over a decade, and that's where I got a lot of my business experience from, along with helping people to make changes in their life from here down. Now I have help people from here up or both, right? But anyways, they did a study. It was out of Italy, randomized control study of individuals that were, looking to lose weight. I don't know if it was like obese individuals that were going through cognitive behavioral therapy, kind of is like, this is an acute thing an acute treatment that we need to do to help them out because their health is really in danger. Anyways, they did a group of that experienced just cognitive behavioral therapy, and then of course the medical treatment, and then the other group had all the same except for they put on VR goggles and they saw themselves how they wanted themselves to look. And who do you think did better at not only reaching their goal, but this is the really crazy part about keeping the weight off?
That's the power of our self image. So
Yes.
powerful. What we believe ourselves to be becomes a self fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
A lot of the work that I do is more in a coaching capacity. And it is a constant reinforcing to my clients to be mindful of how they feel, because their feelings are indicating what they're thinking, what they're believing, what they're expecting, what they're projecting into their future. And so the moment that they can acknowledge, I feel this negative feeling, now they can more objectively see what's going on in their mind. And in that moment, through a process of teaching them how to release the negative emotional charge on that, then we can begin that reprogramming, which is still in this sort of conscious state, right? But they have actually, through that process of mindfulness and going inward, even with their eyes wide open, awake, doing their normal day to day stuff, that slight pause, releasing, they change their brainwave state, they slow it down in the moment now. They've released that negative emotional charge enough that they can reach for, how would I prefer to feel? Or what would I prefer that outcome to be? And we know how powerful it is when you are allowing yourself to get in touch with, oh, I would love to have that healthy body. I'd prefer those healthy foods. I'd love to feel good about the food that I'm eating. You've just changed your entire emotional state in that moment. You changed your vibration from a negative vibration to a higher vibration.
Yeah.
And what are you doing? You're reprogramming yourself.
Yeah.
So you pattern interrupted the old crap. You
Yep.
released and let go of the negative emotional charge, which is the hook that usually keeps our patterns stuck. And then you're able to basically be reprogramming with the positive self image, the positive emotions. And it's so fascinating because it's this power of repetition that we were talking about earlier, right? So in neuroscience, they're referring to it as all those neural pathways, right? So
Right.
each and every time I have this new association, this new thought, this new feeling, now I'm skiing down that slope again. I'm going down that one again.
Wow.
And that's a powerful way that just in our day-to-day lives we can reprogram ourselves.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. Yeah. Neuroplasticity, right? And just figuring out, okay, now what is it that I want my brain to wire? Because just like it got wired with whatever was non-serving, which by the way was an adaptation to be able to survive and have your needs met, right? So that's an important part. But just like it got wired in that way, you can rewire it just in the same way. Question is, are you consciously aware of how you're wiring it and what do you want it to be?
The power of being conscious.
Yes. Yeah.
I want to shift gears just a little bit because I want to speak to you as the business owner. I want to speak to you as the entrepreneur who has grown your own practice. And I'd love if you would be willing to share with us maybe one mindset obstacle that you've personally had to overcome to get to where you are today.
So I graduated I've been in the health and wellness industry for over a decade. So I've been helping people for a long time. Not as a clinical mental health counselor, but I was helping people mind, body, soul to make some changes in their life, right? So I preface that to say I just graduated recently, but this is something that I've been doing as a server and a helper for a long time, right? So I graduated in May of 2022. I would say probably 99% of individuals that graduate with a clinical mental health master's degree will go work in either community mental health, a larger organization, work in a private practice for somebody, or work in some other type of organization. Maybe it's like a school setting or some part of government, whatever the case may be. There's very, very few individuals that go straight into private practice. I knew and I felt from my higher power that I was really called to do my own thing and create my own business and marry hypnotherapy and counseling and holistic wellness all together. But that having been said, Alicia, that was scary because there's not a lot of people that I got to see model what that was like to really give me hope. And it was a conversation that I had with a dear friend of mine who said, Ryan, I believe in you, but do you believe in you? And that one really caught me off guard. And I said, wow, I mean, I think I believe in me, but I've been doing a lot of work, that's for sure. Right. But when he asked me that question, I said, wow. And after we got off the phone, I really sat down and I did some prayer and meditation. And I said, I do believe in me. And here's all the reasons why I believe in me. And I took that leap of faith. And so I started my own practice, of course, under a supervisor because I have to, just based on the laws of in the United States. And I started out and I had no idea how I was going to make it. I started out with, I don't call them clients. I started out with 2 to 3 different individuals that I help. And I now have a completely full caseload. And I'd be willing to bet that close to the end of the year, I'll probably get it to a 5-figure income. That never would have happened if I didn't take the time to say, Ryan, do you believe in you? And so, to the listeners and the viewers out there, I invite you to ask yourself that question. If you're looking to take that leap of faith, if you're looking to start that business, if you're looking to take your business to the next level, right? Do you believe in you? And if there's a little bit of doubt there, that's okay. That's part of being a human being. Surround yourself with other people, right? Or listen to podcasts and books, get a coach, get a mentor. Find somebody else that can believe in you and hold on to their belief just long enough until you can really feel that in yourself. Because ultimately, what's here is a waterfall of love, peace, joy, abundance, health, and wealth that never expires. It never runs out. You just got to get connected to it.
That's
So
beautiful.
that's a long answer to a short question.
It's it's a beautiful answer to a question that a lot of people can relate to. We all have our things that trip us up. And it's it's amazing. We can be acutely aware that there is a tripping point because we keep bumping up against it. We're feeling it. We're seeing the evidence of it in our results in our lives, and still somehow be somewhat oblivious to what is actually going on within us. And there's almost always some sort of fear
Yes.
underneath it all. And when we are willing to look at that, we are able to dismantle it, to reach deeper than the fear and find the courage and the faith and the strength that is in many cases like that life raft that keeps us afloat as we are sort of treading through the period of time where there's not necessarily evidence yet.
Yeah.
Is this going to work out? Is this safe? Did I make the right decision? We have to have that faith, that belief in ourselves, that trust that even though we can't see the evidence of achieving our goal yet, or the fulfillment of our heart's desire that we're just sort of taking that leap of faith into, there has to be that inner knowing that I'm on my right path, that no matter what happens, I am on my right path and I'm following my heart and I'm doing what I know I'm being guided to do.
Yeah. 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 Like in your bio, you talk about really after you did a lot of your inner work to start to connect to your intuition, whether that's helping other people or probably making your own decisions too, right? And so for me, it was okay, connecting to my intuition, right? What am I feeling in my heart and soul about what is it that I'm supposed to do? And identifying the fear program, because it's just trying to protect us, identifying that fear program and saying, okay, thank you. Thank you for trying to protect me, but you're no longer needed. So I invite you to leave now. And yeah, hopefully that helps the listeners and the viewers if they're if they're feeling that kind of internal tug of war to make that leap of faith.
That's the way it works, right? The moment that you need the message, there it is.
Yeah, yeah.
So, Ryan, how can our listeners connect with you?
Absolutely. On Instagram, it's Ryan Kopyar, Kopyar. And my website is ryankopyarholistichealing.com.
Awesome. I have to thank you for being with us today. I always get excited when we get to talk about my favorite topics. Obviously, I've said it before so many times, right? I get a little biased about this stuff.
Yeah, yes, fair
I am
enough.
I am human. This is my passion. This is what I get super excited about. And so it's super fun to have somebody like yourself come on where we can talk about hypnosis and the subconscious mind and reprogramming and all of that fun stuff. So thanks so much for
Yeah, thank you so much. And I want to honor and shine the light on you for a second. I think your story is so incredible and so inspiring, and I honor you. And I just want to let you know that you inspire me and what it is you've been able to overcome and what you've built with your podcast and your business and how you're helping people. So right on, soul sister. Keep it going.
well, thank you. I am going to receive that compliment. And of course, I've got to thank all of our listeners. Thank you so much for tuning in with us every week. If you haven't already subscribed, make sure you do so. And until next time, we will see you in the next episode.